Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Sweat Simple podcast. My name is Brooks Herbis, and I'm an online fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach who's here to help you simplify and make sense out of the all too confusing fitness and nutrition industry. Let's be real, there's a lot of conflicting information online, and it can be hard to know what's legit and who to trust. In every episode, I'll be sharing the science and psychology behind health, fitness, and long-lasting behavior change. But I'll also be sharing real-life practical application because all of the best info in the world only matters if you can actually apply it to your real life. So grab a coffee, water, glass of wine, or lace up your walking shoes, and let's dive in. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Sweat Simple podcast. I'm excited for today's episode because we are just going to riff. It was actually supposed to be a Q&A episode, but then one of my clients, shout out Brittany, asked me a question in the question box, and it was such a good topic that I wanted to just do a whole episode on it. And the question was, what was your family's messaging mindset around health growing up that you maybe had to overcome? For example, perhaps had an almond mom, Weight Watchers mom who ate as little as possible, worked out a lot, and you thought that was the only way to be healthy. I love this question because most of our beliefs and initial habits around not just nutrition and exercise, but actually around our body image, how we think about food, our relationship with food comes from the household we grew up in and the messages that we received. And what's even, to take it even a step deeper, if you are someone who falls into self-sabotaging tendencies, sometimes that can also be from the messages that you had growing up. So if you grew up in a household where it was like, we don't try new things because we might fail, or success and perfection was really like written home for you, all of those things could lead to you self-sabotaging as an adult. I'm not going to try this new way of health and fitness because what if I fail? I need to be really successful with my health and fitness, and I need to be really perfect with my health and fitness, but then I'm never being consistent with it. My mom never liked her arms growing up, so I am constantly thinking about if my arms are too fat. Like all of those messages, and sometimes they're not even like strong messages. Sometimes they're more underlying subliminal messages. All of that really impacts our relationship with food and exercise. And I say relationship because that's what it is. It's not just about nutrition education. It's not just about what you saw growing up. It's how you heard food and bodies and exercise being talked about. And again, like success and failure in general, all of that plays into your health and fitness journey, because we're not just talking about eating healthy. We're not just talking about exercise. We are talking about your ability to be successful on a health and fitness journey. We're talking about eating habits. We're talking about your relationship with food, with your body, with self-sabotage. There is so much that goes into why you are or aren't successful with fat loss and health and fitness behaviors in general. And so much of that stems from the household and the messages that you had growing up. And I want to take it one step further too, because sometimes it's not even in your own household. It can also be things you hear from friends, things you hear from the media. I honestly it scares me a little bit because I think about how I want to raise a family and how I want to talk about food with, in front of my own kids. Like I would want it to be, by the way, don't have kids right now. I'm talking about the future, but I really want food to be very like neutral. And obviously I want to, not
talk about bodies or what's on our plates or anything like that. But because of social media and, sending your kids to school and there are so many places where you get hit with these messages that it's not just about your parents. It's also about like your friends and social media and even like your teachers and the other adults in your household or in your, surrounding life. So we are hit with all of these different messages and all of these different beliefs. That all is shaping how we view our body, how we view food, how we view fat loss, what healthy looks like to us. So I think this is a really interesting topic because I also think that our generation has a very unique opportunity to raise our kids, if you want to have kids, in a different way than we were raised. Because I think that our generation is doing a much better job of finding body positivity, not commenting on people's bodies, understanding that we want to like take care of ourselves instead of just lose weight. That is why I love what I do so much. And that's why I love working with a lot of the moms that I work with because it seriously warms my heart. I've had clients who tell me like, my kids notice that I'm not restricting anymore. Like my kids see me now eating cookies and they are recognizing like, oh, okay, it's okay for us to have cookies because before they were working with me, they were really restrictive. Your kids are getting all of these messages about how you're eating, how you're exercising, how you're talking about food. And I am so passionate about what I do because if I can help you improve your relationship with food and I can help you learn how to eat healthier and feel confident in your body and move in a way that feels good, I'm not really just helping you. I'm also helping you, your whole family. I'm helping you set a really strong example for your kids, which it's always so interesting to me because I know as women, especially I see it a lot with moms, you have a really hard time investing in yourself, not just time, but especially financially. You don't feel like you should be spending money to make yourself feel better. And what I often tell these people is you're not just investing in you. You are investing in your family. You're investing in a better version of you. You're investing in having more energy. You're investing in probably having more patience to show up for your family. And you're investing in your kids' health. Like, I bet we all want to set really strong examples for the kids in our lives, whether it's our own kids or our nieces and nephews, that exercise feels good. Eating healthy feels good. We can be really strong and confident in our bodies as women. And I think we're all in a really unique and powerful spot to do that. And that is why I love what I do because I don't just want to help you. I want to truly help you set the best example possible for your kids. Because, like I said, we can't control all these other messages. We can't control what the kids are going to see on social media. We can't control what they're going to hear from their friends, but you can control what's going on in your own house. And if you feel positive about food, if you feel positive about your body, if your child sees you exercising, that is just setting them up for a much stronger foundation than you maybe ever had. If you are someone who struggles with your weight, if you struggle with yo-yo dieting, if you struggle with your relationship with food, I would bet it is largely because of messages that you heard growing up. And you now have a really cool, unique opportunity to break that pattern and set a better example for the kids in your life and the kids that are seeing how you exercise, how you eat, how you talk about food, how you talk about your body. And I just don't want to forget that. I don't want to forget that we're not only impacting ourselves with these things, but that we're truly impacting really everyone in our household, your partner too. So that was a long tangent about why I love this so much. But I will talk about the messages that I received in my house growing up and also the messages that I remember seeing just in society, because I think that that plays a big role too. So um, growing up, I love my parents. They are amazing. There was not much education about nutrition happening at all. And I think that's largely because like they didn't have education about nutrition. My grandma, my mom's mom, we're a Midwest family. She is very much like a meat and potatoes type of woman. She loves butter. She loves like mushroom soup. So that's what my mom was exposed to growing up. So that's what we were eating a lot of. It wasn't, a ton of, like, we ate fruits and veggies, but I don't remember that ever being like a main prominent part of the dish. So I would say like nutrition education in general was not really there. That was something I had to learn all on my own once I really discovered that I had a passion and interest for it. And it honestly not until I was an adult. um, and we were always an active family. But it was more so active in like our individual sports. Like we would go on family bike rides and we took like ski trips and stuff like that. But and sometimes when I was in high school, my dad would like take me to the gym with him. And I remember doing like jazzercise videos with my mom. So I would say we actually were always very active. We were all always in sports. We were, active together. But and I think that's why actually, like in my own weight loss journey, the exercise portion was always easy for me. I always enjoyed activity. I always tried to control my fat loss through exercise because that was familiar to me. Like I knew what exercise looked like. I knew what moving my body looked like. I watched both of my parents do it. I knew that it was something that was important. But on the nutrition side, I think that's why I felt so lost because I had no foundation. Quick intermission in this episode to let you know that from September 9th to 11th, I am hosting my free Fat Loss Forever Challenge, and I want you to join. In just 3 live mini trainings, I'll show you why healthy eating isn't working anymore, how to set up your life so that fat loss feels easier, and the real reason you can't follow through even when you know what to do. It is a super fun challenge. I only run it twice a year. You'll walk away with strategies you can start implementing immediately. It is totally free to join, and you can head to the show notes to grab your free spot there. Again, like my parents are amazing, but balanced plates and like healthy dinners were not really exposed to me, I would say. Like I love, my mom is very much like an ice cream counts as dinner type of mom. And movie theater popcorn counts as dinner, which, of course, I think it's like important to like have those fun foods, but there was no balance. And in addition to that, I was getting a lot of messages around certain foods being good, certain foods being bad. Like when we were having chips and dip, it was like, oh, we're being so bad. We're like, oh, we're eating really bad this weekend. Like, oh, this is bad, but we're going to eat it. So a lot of messages around you should not eat these sorts of foods. You should eat these sorts of foods. But there was no like education. It was just those messages around foods being bad. And to my mom's credit, she never talked about really like weight loss specifically in front of me. Like she was not an almond mom by any means. She was not someone who was like constantly dieting. Like I don't really remember my mom dieting, but I do remember those messages around this food is bad. We should feel guilty for eating this food. We're, being, bad tonight. There were like a lot of messages around the meals that we were eating. So that really stuck with me that there are foods that we shouldn't eat. There are foods that are bad. There are foods that are guilty. So if you find yourself doing that right now, maybe question like, where did that come from? Where did that original belief around if this food is bad come from? Is this something I'm doing and I'm now instilling in my kids or the people around me? I also had a lot of messages around cleaning my plate. And that is something that until the last like 8 years, I really was not in touch with my hunger and fullness cues. It was like, especially growing up, it was finish everything on your plate before you can get up and leave the table. It was that phrase of there are starving kids in Africa, so you got to finish your food. It was always around finishing vegetables too. So like the vegetables were there, but they were never vegetables I liked. It was always peas, which I just do not like peas. But it was always clean your plate, like clean plate club. And in addition to that, I grew up one of four. There were four of us kids, and I do think I adapted this mindset of scarcity around restaurant food specifically because when we would go out to eat, if I brought leftovers home, my brother was eating it. Like those leftovers were not mine anymore. Like if I didn't get to them before him, he was for sure eating them. So I got it in my mind that if I want to enjoy this really delicious restaurant food, I need to finish it all while we're at the restaurant, or I need to finish it before my brother gets to it. So I was kind of getting two messages saying the same thing of like, if you don't finish, one, you have to finish what's on your plate. And two, if you don't, this is your last opportunity to have it. Like you won't get to see this food again. So that really impacted how I looked at food as an adult. And when I think about my early 20s, when I first had to lose weight and I needed to learn about nutrition and I didn't know about nutrition and I was in the yo-yo dieting cycle doing a lot of things wrong, that is when these messages really came to play. And I really noticed them because there were foods when I was trying to lose weight that I could eat, and there were foods that were bad and I shouldn't eat. When I went out to eat, I did not leave food on my plate. I ate every crumb. When I served myself food at home, I was eating everything on my plate. I was not paying attention to if I was still hungry. I was eating past the point of fullness, because that was actually another message that I got growing up is we leave meals feeling uncomfortable. We leave meals with our stomach hurting. I thought that was normal, and I don't think we realize until we're adults and we're developing new beliefs and we're looking at our own relationship with nutrition and exercise and fat loss that we stop to pause and say, oh, are there other options here? Could I leave meals feeling good? Are there certain foods that actually make me feel really full and satisfied and give me a lot of energy? Is it actually possible to have some ice cream and not feel guilty about it? So if you find that these things come up for you, if you have a hard time leaving food on your plate, if you always have to finish your meal at restaurants, if you think of food as good and bad, question like, did this come from the house I grew up in? And is this still true to me? Is this still a belief that I want to have? Is this still a belief that I uh, want to carry with me in my adult life? Do I want my kids or future kids or nieces or nephews or friends' kids to have this belief? Or is this something that I want to start working on so that that pattern stops with me? And if you want help working through these beliefs, that is like my bread and butter. That's what I do with my one-on-one coaching clients all day long. Obviously, I got myself out of that cycle, and now I've gotten hundreds of women out of these old mindsets and beliefs as well. And I'd love to help you. But we need to start questioning if these still hold true for us, if we still really believe them. And the last thing I want to touch on just about messages that I got growing up is actually like messages I got from magazines and the media. Like I remember being in the supermarket. Why did I say that? I only ever go to the grocery store. I remember being in like the grocery store checkout line and seeing all the magazine articles about like shredded abs or like Jennifer Aniston's like arm workout or like lose 30 pounds in 12 days. So that felt like the main message. It was always skinny, 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 lose weight quick, cut things out, be restricted, which I think is why when I started my own health and fitness journey, that then became my natural first step was restrict, get skinny, get shredded abs. And of course, none of those things ever worked. But I think it's important to remember how the media that we're exposed to does impact our perception of fitness and our idea of what the quote unquote right approach is, because that's something that many of us are still impacted by on a daily basis. Yes, of course, we're impacted by the beliefs that were in our household. But a lot of the times we are no longer living in that household, so they feel less prevalent versus the media that we're still consuming every day if that is no longer in line with these new core beliefs that we're trying to build, that's when this can get extra hard. Because on one hand, you're trying to cultivate this new mindset around bodies and nutrition and exercise. And on the other hand, you're getting exposed with all of these messages that are conflicting it and are more in line with that old version of dieting that you were, subscribing to. So do an audit of your social media. Are you following accounts that are actively promoting the sorts of messages that you want to be hearing about health and fitness and fat loss and it's helpful? Or do you notice that you're still consuming and subscribing to a lot of accounts, or consuming a lot of things that are maybe more of this old belief, because the more you hear that old message, the harder it's going to be for these new messages to really cement. And I actually want to bring that up too with the messages we received growing up, because for a lot of my one-on-one coaching clients, we talk about things that will be potential hurdles, or will feel harder to practice these new behaviors in. And for a lot of my clients, a quote unquote harder situation and a hurdle is when they go back to their parents' house, when they're around their parents, when they're around certain groups of friends. And that's normal, because if we have been working to change the way that we think about our bodies, that we talk about our bodies, that we eat, and then we go back to a situation that feels very much like how we used to act, it is normal to want to slip back into those old habits. Not only because sometimes we're getting those same messages from our parents who haven't changed very much, but just because it is, we're just so easily able to slip back into those old habits in those old environments. So be aware of that too. As you're changing these habits, it might feel harder to be around certain family members, to go back home, and be prepared for those. Because if you're able to be prepared for them, it will go a lot more smoothly in the future, and it won't feel maybe like such a big regression, because you know that it might happen and you can think about how you want to approach it in the future. So this was a fun episode. I really like talking about this. So let me know if you guys found it interesting too. But I just want to leave you with a little reminder that a lot of our beliefs and our thoughts around food and our bodies and exercise come from the household that we grew up in. And if you're still struggling to overcome these things, you are not alone. These are often some of the biggest barriers for people when it comes to health and fitness, whether it's because of messages they received around food, the Clean Plate Club, things that are leading to you now self-sabotaging, watching your parents emotionally eat, whatever it was, those things are very much big impacts when it comes to your health and fitness journey. So if you're struggling with that, you're not alone. But it's very possible to overcome it. And I also want to remind you that one of the big reasons to work through this, to improve your own mindset around food, to get more nutrition education, to approach fat loss in a different way, is to set up your future kids, or the kids that are around you in your life, to be at a much easier opportunity to have more balance and a more positive relationship with food and exercise in their body than you ever were. Are they still going to have to fight some external sources from the media and their friends? Yes, of course. But can you give them a really strong foundation that you might not have had? And just really think about how much easier all of this would be if you weren't having to relearn your health and fitness behaviors in your 30s, in your 20s, in your 40s, because you could do that for your kids. You could do it for yourself, so that they are starting with such a strong foundation that you maybe didn't have. I know that for me is really inspiring. Giving my future kids, a healthy relationship with food is so important to me. Healthy relationship with body is so important to me. It is like the one thing I'm really worried about screwing up as a parent someday. I think because I'm just like so passionate about this. So I just want to let you all know that you have the opportunity to do that too. And I think that's really inspiring and I think it's really cool. And I think that is what is so amazing about investing in yourself and taking the time to do the hard work to really improve your relationship with food, with your body, with how you view fat loss, because every little message that you are sending, whether it's we shouldn't eat this, whether it's you eating a cookie and going to ice cream with your family without having any sort of guilt, because whether it's you being able to join at family dinners and you're eating bread from the bread basket and it's not a big deal. It's you not talking about your body in a negative way. It's you lifting weights in front of your kids and they think it's really cool how strong you are. Like all of that is so, so powerful. And I think it is so cool that we have the opportunity to influence all of this and set our kids up in a much better spot than we were ever set up with. So I will now officially get off my soapbox, but if that's something you're interested in and you don't know where to start, you're like, I want to be that good example for my son, my daughter, my niece, my nephew, please, please hit me up. Apply for your free strategy call in the show notes. This is my life's passion. I would love to help you work through this too. Because let's set up future generations for a little bit better than we had it ourselves. So if you guys like this episode, let me know. Shoot me a DM so that I know that I'm not just speaking into a black hole. And I will talk to you guys all next week. Thank you so much for being here.